This is a book review of Archie's favourite Christmas comics. This is a 400-page book from Archie's Comics. Now, it's one of those typical thick, chunky, massive books that Archie's Comics always come out with. Love them. And this one was obviously $10 at the time. And there's the back cover there. And what it is, it's got lots of stories all the way through from like the 40s, 50s, etc. Now, there's not particularly any, they're not in order, chronological order. They're sort of grouped in particular ways. And you've got lots of stories that are more like 60s, 70s, 80s, that sort of period, than the early 40s. Now, Archie Comics have got millions of Archie Christmas related stories. So obviously a 400-page book, it would need to be about a 10,000 or 20,000 page book to actually get all of the Christmas stories. So you're obviously just getting a very small snapshot. I love the list in there with all the various other titles and things. So you've got like 1,000-page comics bonanza. I think it's 1,000 pages are pretty good, and they're always brilliant prices. Super value. They are, I think. Great stories as well. I love the stories. Sort of things just to dip into. I've never read it complete. I have to say, I probably have stories in here that I've never read, which is great because I can always pick them up around Christmas time. I generally pick this up around about the start of December, and I start reading the stories. And they're always just great, and they're always nice for a little chuckle. Now, well, the humour is, it's obviously of a certain type. It's quite funny, quite pleasant. You can work the story out. They're most are predictable, but they're great. Really enjoyable. It's on rough paper, and so you've got all the list. Amazing how many people involved. Quite staggering. All the obviously the great Dan DiCarlo, but loads and loads and loads of Al Hartley, just names that pop up there. And you've got a page really when you turn it, you can really hear that. They don't actually, if you're coming to this for any gutter loss, you really have to struggle sometimes. You really sort of to get to the gutter, because sometimes you really have to bend this. But to be honest, the spine, it doesn't, I've opened this, and this is from 2014. It's not damaged in any way. So, I mean, I've opened, you can open it. Now, holding it down is a bit tricky, but you know, I normally hold it like that, and you can read the stories. Fine, easy enough to read. And you've got like stories, obviously, at Archie. And this one's just choosing Betty and Veronica, Santa shortage. So you've got, there's the sort of artwork there. Now, this is separated in different sections, and it's not particularly obvious where the sections are. You have to quickly flick through and you can find a section. Here's one. Gifts and giving. So you've got that sort of chapter. You've got these one-pagers as well, which is really nice. Betty and Veronica snowflakes. So you've got a story, a single story. You can hear the cracks there. But again, spine is really fine. Absolutely no problem at all. I've had this a long time, just opening up and you can hear it creak, crack and all that sort of stuff. You've got the listing there of all the various details. So you can see you've got a lot of stories. And it's all over the place. So 2006, 1963, 1997. There's one, the Stamp of Approval, 1959. Personally, I wish they had done it on the bottom or along the top of each of the stories. Would have been nice to have given the details. But you can always quickly flick back and think, oh, I wonder what year that book or that story was. And then you've got lots of, right at the start, let's go back to the start. You've got, there's some Archie stories. These are obviously the very early 1940s ones. They're in there as well. You haven't got many 1940s ones. Got a couple. Merry Christmas, everybody. It's, so you've got a lovely, and then it sort of jumps forward very quickly with Betty and Veronica. Now, you haven't got so many stories. You've got Jughead's story. Obviously, there's a Jughead one here, Jughead. And you've got lots of other characters as well that pop up all the way through the book. And just going to go through to some others here. This one, Ski Kart Catastrophe. And this was obviously 1976 in Laugh Comics. Archie Giant Series number 5, 1958, Sleigh Ride. Frosty Fairy Tales from Betty and Veronica. I've got that, and then you can go through to the next one, and you got, of course, it's a single page one there, Snowmobile. There's another one, and 2010. There's quite a few stories, obviously, from 2010, 2009 period, but it's not solely on that period. And the artwork is universally brilliant, I think. I love the artwork. It's very simple artwork. But it's just, to me, simple doesn't mean that it's not really good. I think it's very good. Tells a story. You can flick through it. You have no problem with reading this. It flows really nice. You've got scenes where you've got lots of characters, and then you've got other scenes where it just works. It's nothing complicated, no complex panel structures and anything, no super massive sort of double page spreads where villains and people are flying all over the place. But you've got great stories where you've got just characters just going out in the forest and just hacking down a tree. Simple as that. Very simple stories. And you've got obviously Santa Claus turns up quite a bit. Now, there's a couple of characters that I'm surprised were not in this. Obviously, things like Sabrina comes to mind. Though Sabrina, there is one or two little bits of Sabrina. There's also some of the more recent ones. This one obviously clearly more. So that you can see the panel structure is slightly different. It actually it's got no border around it. So the panels go straight out to the edge. And obviously some of the characters start to look quite different from how they look earlier on in the 60s. My vision of the Archie comics has always been the 60s ones. But I mean, that's just me. Should be, but obviously it's changed and the stories are changing and you've got slightly different. I love the TV series. The Riverdale TV series is brilliant. And you've got other characters that turn up here, but it's mainly obviously Betty and Veronica and Jughead, etc. But I think I was just quickly rushing through it, trying to find one with Sabrina. There's a couple of pages with Sabrina, I think, in this. But most of it is obviously Archie, Veronica, Betty. Now, there is also, of course, the Sabrina ones. There's one Sabrina book that came out. I haven't done a review of that yet. I love that one. However, there's a volume 2, unfortunately, only available on Kindle or PDF. Really? Or whatever, a Kindle format. You think, I was really looking forward. I had pre-ordered that. I was looking forward to that. Now it's, ho-hum. But I do love these. And I would love to see Sabrina one, that volume, come out like this sort of form. Why not? But these are great. I say, great stories, really fill you with the Christmas spirit. And it's just sort of book that I always wheel out. It's like Christmas time, it's sort of book you pick up Christmas Eve, put an episode of Tom and Jerry Twas the Night Before Christmas on, put, of course, As the Sims, etc. Those sort of things on, or Carry On film, whatever. No, they never did a Carry On Christmas film. Would have been nice. But put that on and then sit down and read a couple of stories. Some of the wonderful Marvel comic grab bag, big, massive treasury editions. Just enjoy Christmas and eat too many chocolates kind of thing, or whatever. But I just love this book. Absolutely superb. Great collection. And I say there's a number of other volume versions. Now, I was looking online and I noticed, so if you're looking for it, I would suggest checking on, say, the Grand Comic Database to see what stories are in the ones that you think so you don't avoid getting, unfortunately, duplications or whatever, because there's so many of these brilliant books. It's very hard to always particularly pick on this particular title if this is the one you're exactly looking for. So, Archie's favourite Christmas comics.